Okay, just thought I'd get this video in. I know it's a little bit later than normal, and but I just thought I'd get this video in. I just did the Secret of Mana playthrough part 4. Um, I realized I had not went back and talked about part number 3, and in the meantime, I have found my book for this game because it's, as you can see, it's quite long. So um, I'm trying to remember stuff I done on part 3, but I might just use the book to tell you about the things I done on part 3 because I just got done with part 4 and um, my memory sometimes does not work well, so I forget what I've done. So on part 3, I went to the Underground Palace, which is in the it's in the Dwarf Village. You go there and you take care of that orb. You use freeze on the orb, and it'll open up the Underground Palace. The best thing to do is really not really to. You can fight the goblins if you want and other things, but it's better sometimes to run by them, especially like the slimes and stuff like that, because a lot of that stuff's a lot. They're they're pretty difficult. So as far as enemies go. Uh, when you do get to the end, you fight the Fire Gigas. Um, he can do different fire attacks, but what you do is you use the freeze spells, and those will kill him pretty quick. Um, the freeze spell, of course, is the one that the sprite has. You'll get the gnome, and you'll get his magic. The gnome, the girl's gnome magic is speed up, defender, and stone saber. Of course, stone saber will petrify your enemies. Um, speed up gives you temporary, I think, evasion for us for a short time. Defender is a little bit more defensive abilities for a short time. Um, I don't really find most of those really helpful. On that end of it. Like I said, the Undying, you have the Cure Water, which is helpful, and so is Remedy. You won't. I don't find too much of a use for Remedy because usually, if you're poisoned on the game, it doesn't take very long for the poison to wear off, and it takes some off of your life. But after a while, you just don't. You don't even really. It doesn't really even bother you. Plus, like I said, you get the medical herb, which will that'll help too. Um, but the Cure Water gives you your life back as you go on up and level up. Again, you touch the seed, and this time it'll have on your status screen, it'll have 2. So you have to level up your magic each time you get one of these seeds and new magic. You have to level up your magic to whatever level it is. That way, you have the strongest magic possible. You'll see later on towards the end of the game how important it is, though, to level up your magic and to level up your weapons. If you haven't already seen leveling up the weapons to make them a little bit stronger, you'll see it later on as well. You go to Pandora, which is the girl's home city, and the people there are kind of zombie. They won't talk to you. The guy at the armor shop won't talk to you. You can buy stuff from the other shop and you can stay at the inn, but you can't do much else. So you go into the town. You talk to a girl named Fana that is the girl's friend. I guess that's how you pronounce it. It may be another pronunciation. I'm not sure. You talk to her. She runs off to the ruins. You go to the ruins, and she's at the door, and she goes on in, and the girl gets ticked off because her friend is acting weird, so she kind of busts through the front line, and you go into the tower again. This is something that you can run through, that you don't necessarily have to fight the enemies. A lot of them I really just don't fight because there's really no reason to fight them. Certain enemies, they summon certain other enemies, and it's more so hard to kill and take out the summoner, as opposed to the other enemies. And some of these enemies, as you get on up through here, you'll notice on the next on part 4 of the playthrough that some of these enemies, if you haven't noticed already, some of them do have magic, and sometimes that magic is very bad and it's hard to deal with. And so you want to go through the not so bad. Well, you want to go through the just kind of run through the bad areas and not so much. You can kind of destroy the enemies in the not so bad areas, and you'll see that in part 4. I'll make an explanation of that in part 4. On part 3, I'm sorry about the grinding of the weapons and of the magic, but like I said, there was a reason for that. You'll meet Thanatos in the ruins. He's one of the I think he's one of the Empire's men, and the Empire, you'll learn more about them as we go along on this playthrough. Bunch of kind of bad guys that are not you face them toward the end of the game, but a lot of times they'll send something else after you. As in this case, Thanatos dumps you down the hole in the floor. If you go to the back of the room where this wall is, there are spikes there, and it's supposed to be immediate death. I've never tried it. Also, I think the wall will actually try to push you back towards the spikes. I've never let it go that far. This thing, what it does is when it opens up, you can hit it in the eyes, but you have to hit it in the main center part of the head. It's got a little jewel and it's in the middle. You need to focus on that and just use Earth Slide on that middle part of the head. Now, like I said, every time that you kill an enemy, you get weapon orbs. So don't worry too much about those. Like I said, I power up my weapon orbs in Gaia's navel first. Later on, we pick up a couple of different places. Gaia's navel is the first one that you can actually go around and level up your weapons and magic. So that's the best place to do it. Now you can go other places, but to begin with, and also from the money aspect, the Buzzbees give a lot more money than most of the other enemies, like a Rabite or a Lullabud and things of that nature. So those Buzzbees give a lot more. And I just found something I missed. You need to go back to Pandora and talk to the king, and there's 6 treasure chests down there, and the weapon shop will open, and I showed you what to buy pretty much in that weapon shop. I'll show you where that room is down there that I somehow missed. I'll show you where that's at some point in the near future. We'll come back to that. Now there's a couple of things that you can do before you leave to go to the Upper Lands, which is the Sprite's home. You can go back to the Dwarf Village, and when you go back to the you can go back to the Water Palace first and talk to Luca, and she'll tell you that they've stolen the water seed. So you'll have the water seed, and the people have stolen it. So you go back to the Dwarf Village. There's a huge hole in the middle of the Dwarf Village, and you'll talk to the elder. He'll talk about thieves that stole the water seed and go. They went down below. So you get on this ship. Whenever you go down that hole, you end up on a ship. On the first floor of the ship, there's a weapon orb on the far right hand side of it. You need to get that one, and then you'll talk to these people that are called the Scorpion Army. It's like a boss and 2 goons, and they don't fight you, but they send they were using a water seed to help their robot named Kilroy. Reference there to a I believe it was Styx song back in the day, called Mr. Roboto. and the robot in that song is referred to as Kilroy. So that's something that's kind of something that's, on that. This battle should have been a little bit different. I made it a little bit longer, and it had to be. You need to have weapons that are far away so that you can stay away from him, and then mallets that he swings. You can use or slide gem missile, things like that on him, but you may have to use a fairy walnut if you use those and you don't fight. You go back to the water palace, and after you have the water seed and the Empire's there again, I think it's Geshtar that's there this time, or Geshtar. I don't really know how you say it, but anyway, he's there, and you have to you either hand him the seed or run away. It doesn't matter either way. They end up getting the seed. They end up putting you into a boss fight with Jabberwocky. The Jabberwocky, the best thing to do is just start with the Earth Slide and just work him over. I think it takes maybe 5 or 6 of them, so you probably have to use a fairy walnut in that fight. You'll talk to Gemma, and he'll tell you how to get to the upper land, and he'll give you a weapon orb as well. Luca will talk to you about going to Sage Jock, who lives in the lofty mountains, and to go to all the 8 world palaces and reactivate the seeds. That's where you'll have 7 magics for each character once you get to the end. You restore the seal on the water seed, and then you'll use cannon travel for the first time. I haven't used cannon travel yet in one of the videos. It's kind of one of the funny things. I don't use it very often because it gets you from point A to point B, and you can't level up and can't get gold and things like that. So it's really, if you want to use it, you can, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. That's one of those things. You go to the upper land, but before you leave, you need to go back to the Dwarf Village, talk to the Elder again. He'll give you a thing called a Midge Mallet. The Midge Mallet makes you smaller or larger, depending upon if you've been, because some of the enemies can make you smaller, and so they use this pick me thing, and they turn you small, and you have to use the Midge Mallet. Makes you back to your regular size. Now you can also use the Midge Mallet on yourself when you're tall and make yourself short, but you take more damage and things like that when you're at that area. Actually, I was supposed to have stopped back after Kilroy. So Jabberwocky, from Jabberwocky on is playthrough part 4, but I'll go ahead and go through it since this is what I went through. You go to the upper lands. This is where the sprite lives. There's 4, just like we have, there's 4 seasons. There's spring, summer, fall, winter. And you'll land, and there will be little beings that are there. Players of the Final Fantasy series and of some other series will know these things as Moogles. They're little white things with wings. They're called Moogles. You talk to one of the Moogles. He's crying because their village has been taken over by Pebblers. Pebblers are a different enemy. They're not very hard to defeat after a while, but the first ones that you run across seem to be a little bit worse. Watts, at this point, the blacksmith, he follows you around quite a bit to different places that you're going. It's a good thing. Nico kind of follows you around too. Of course, his stuff is still expensive as can be, and he follows you around too. So you get both of them. Now, what you got to do here is you go into I believe you go into the spring first. I believe it is. And when you go through the spring one, you'll find the village that you need to take the Pebblers down in. You'll fight 3 Pebblers. just stay a little ways away from them and try to kill them. Once you kill them and you go to leave, the Moogles will come back to the village. Like I said, Nico will be there and Watts will be there. So you can do, you can save your game. You can power new weapons, stuff like that. I would advise very strongly against powering up your weapons in the upper lands, because a lot of these enemies have magic abilities, and they're pretty tough. Like there's these silk tails, they look like rabbits. They're much tougher than the little yellow rabbits. They're pink ones, but they're much tougher. Plus, they can cast energy absorb on your character. They can cast, I think, acid or rain's another one. They're very nasty. They are very nasty. There are some owls that can cast silence. If the owls cast silence on you, this is the only time I've ever seen a silence spell. It reverses the directions on the controller. If you want to go right, you need to press left. And it works on you for a little while, but they can also cast different things. Like I think the Silktails can cast Cure Water and things like that. But almost everything there, besides like Water Thugs and things like that, can cast stuff. So you want to try to run around. And as always, you want to see if Nico's got any new armor, or anywhere that you're at's got any new armor, so that you can, so that you won't get hit so badly. Now, if you need to kill a couple enemies to get you some money, try to just have one on the screen at a time, or try to even use your magic if you have to. But what'll happen is you'll talk to one of the. I think there's 2 weapon orbs in the village with the Moogles, and then you'll fight. You'll go back and you'll talk to one of the Moogles, and the sprite will remember how to get to his village. And there'll be a little riddle, and it'll go spring. Let me see how it's got it listed. Walk the seasons from spring to winter, spring again, and we can enter. So what you have to do is you have to walk from spring through summer, through fall, through winter, and then back to spring. Then it'll have a sound that sounds like a wall breaking, and you'll go towards I believe it's to the east in this, might be to the north or so in the summer, and it will take you to the sprite's village. The sprite will realize that there's nobody there, and they hear something. It's a boss named Spring Beak. So you go on up there to Spring Beak. He pretty much jumps around. He can do some stuff, but not a whole lot. The best thing to do, 3 or 4 slides, he's dead meat. Just pile him on, boom, 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 boom. He's dead. And then you go to the Wind Palace. When you go to the Wind Palace, you'll get Sylphide. I guess that's how you say it. I'm not sure. He's the wind elemental. You'll meet the sprite's grandfather. They have, a little bit more story. The new power that you get is wind. Cassid, like Undyne is water, Gnome is earth, and this one's wind. The girl gets the ability she now has a thing called Analyzer. You can analyze orbs to see what'll work on them. You can also analyze enemies to look at stats on them, and they'll give you all the stats of them, levels, hit points, magic points, if they're weak against anything. Same thing with bosses. You can use it, things of that nature. There's a balloon that you can use with her. The balloon will hold an enemy in place while you beat it. It does the same thing as the balloon that happened earlier to your character when you first see me down in that one area with the bats that were putting the balloon on my head. Does the same thing to the enemies. She also has, I believe it's Wind Saber, I think. And Wind Saber just adds the power of like air to your attacks. It's more like a lightning strike type thing. The sprite gets Air Blast, which throws out 3. They look like kind of like slices of like air slicing things that kind of home in on the enemy or whatever they're aimed at to do that. It also has got Thunderbolt, which lightning strikes stuff on the screen. And I think he has Silence. Silence does the same thing to the enemies that it does to your character. It makes them all backwards. But that's what he gets. Now, once you get out of there and everything, you'll go up another way and you'll go to the road to Mantango. You'll go to Mantango, and when you first get there, you'll freak out because when you get to Mantango, the people that are in the village are they look like mushrooms, but they're not bad mushrooms. These mushrooms will not attack you. I talked to one of them to make sure that if you're watching the stream, you understand that they're not. You can't swing your weapon, so don't freak out as soon as you get there. Don't freak out because they're not bad ones. They're actually good ones. You go and you talk to their king. King tells you about a white dragon. Sends you to go to a cave to save said white dragon. There's an orb that also you can get. And that's where we're going to stop because I did get some different armor. I was able to get some different armor. Once I got to Mantango, you will want to switch your armor. There is going to be a place that I will show you at some point, probably on playthrough part 5, that you can level up your weapons before you go to the cave. So there will be that. I will probably do I might do a part 4 continue. Well, let me just tell you where it's at. It's a lot easier for me to tell you where it's at than for me to go back and get it. That way, if you're ever doing a playthrough of the game, you can do it without messing up like I did. After you defeat the wall and you go back to Pandora and you're buying new armor and stuff, go back to the castle that you probably saw in the first playthrough where the girl's at. Go back to the castle and talk to the king, and the king will realize that you're the Knight of Legend, and then you can go down there and get the other orbs for the other weapons, along with some gold. I forgot to go down there, but I think there's 6 treasure chests, and I think there's either 2 orbs or there's 4 orbs, and then the other ones have money in them. So there's either 2 orbs and the other 4 have money, or there's 4 orbs and then the other 2 have money. I'm not sure how it goes. I forgot to even go there. That was the bad thing. So that way I won't have to show you. That way you'll kind of know where you're going, because it's really you saw it maybe on the first part of the playthrough. This guy won't let me enter this one room because it's for the Knight of Legend. So but that's going to cover parts 3 and 4. Jim will probably put this with playthrough part 4. So hopefully it kind of gels in with that. Like I said, I forgot to do part 3 on a review. I forgot to do that. So this will be for numbers 3 and 4. I'm going to keep trying to do these as I do parts of them. That way we'll do that. I don't know when part 5 will be getting streamed, because I will have to level up quite a few weapons, and all of the magics. The magics will have to go up to level 3. The weapons will have to go up a little bit too, because I didn't really level them up that fast. So we'll have to level them up and see what we get. But until next time, we'll see you then. And happy early Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. So.